Good morning. I'm going to call this meeting to order. And today is September 19th. This is the Housing, Land Use, Environment, and Transportation Committee. And we're going to establish a quorum. Peggy.
Good morning. Vice Chairperson Semidian.
Here.
Chairperson Arenas.
I'm here too.
You have a quorum.
Wonderful. Okay, so we're going to move on into our agenda item number 2. This is public comment. And this is where anyone can share comments about anything that's not on today's agenda. And if you're in person, as I can see, you can ask for that yellow card for public comment. If you're virtually viewing us, please raise your hand to share public comment. And we're going to start by asking Peggy.
We have no speakers this morning.
Well, I'm absolutely taken aback. We're going to move on to item number 3, and this is approving the consent calendar. Vice Chair Semidian, do you have any changes?
I do not, Madam Chair, and I would be happy to move approval of the consent calendar as contained in our published agenda. That would be items 9 through 13 on consent.
I'll second that.
Vice Chairperson Semidian.
Aye.
Chairperson Arenas.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Wonderful. We're going to move into our first item, which is item number 4, and this is to receive a report from the Roads and Airports Department relating to the draft Santa Clara County Active Transportation Plan. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Chair, Vice Chair. My name is Harry Freitas. I'm the Director of the Roads and Airports Department. I'd like to introduce Chris Lamb, our Deputy Director for Infrastructure Development, and Ben Agenou, the County Transportation Planner. They're going to present the draft of this study that we've been working on for a while. We're really pleased to present it. I wanted to make sure that the committee knows our plan here is to introduce some of the parameters and outlines of the plan that we've been working on. We plan on bringing this back to the Housing, Land Use, and Environment and Transportation Committee once we release the document. Get input. Our plan is to bring this back again before it goes to the full board. Thank you very much.
So we're just having some technical problems for all those viewers at home who are watching us.
The upshot is that we're identifying opportunities for both pedestrian and cycling access, so to create truly multimodal systems.
That work? There we go. Can you hear me? Great. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Again, Chris Lamb, Deputy Director of Infrastructure in Roads and Airports, and joined by Ben Agenou, our Principal Transportation Planner, who's been the one primarily working on this. We're excited to present the active transportation plan that the County Roads and Airports Department has been working on for quite a while now. And as Director Harry Freitas mentioned, this is an update. We'll be coming back to the committee in a few months. So this is kind of a preview of where we're at. Today, we'll be going over a project overview. We're going to discuss the vision and goals that were established early on through a pretty comprehensive community outreach process that took place a few years ago. We're going to go over the needs assessments that were conducted, and the outcome was various infrastructure improvements. So we'll talk about those at a very high level, and then also some of the next steps that the department has planned as we finish up the plan. So as you can imagine, the project overview, the project covers all of the county roads. County roads consist of over 600 miles of roadway with a pretty expansive variety of types of roads. We have 62 miles of expressway system. We also have a number of urban pockets of roads, and then obviously our much more rural roads. And all these facilities are covered in in our transportation plan here. We started this project during COVID in 2020 and have spent a lot of time digging into data, talking with the community, and right now we find ourselves just on the verge of releasing a draft plan for public viewing. We've as you can see on this timeline here, we've had a lot of stakeholder meetings over the years, a lot of input from our regional partners, all of the cities and the VTA. And we're ready, again, to issue the draft plan. We expect or hope to have a final plan adopted by the Board of Supervisors early in 2025. Early on in our outreach, we developed that shared vision for active transportation within the county. Part of that identified key corridors, destinations, gaps in our infrastructure, and those opportunities for improvement. We also coordinated with the Santa Clara County Parks Department on their trail master plan map update to make sure that we had connectivity to trails that the Parks Department is looking to implement. Some of our Phase 1 strategies, we've had a project website available with an interactive map. And again, early on, we did a lot of outreach, a lot of pop-up events. I'm not going to read through the full list here, but we worked with a lot of the community business organizations and tried to get the word out. And I think we did a pretty good job of doing that. So throughout that planning process, it was a mix of in-person and digital engagement methods. We had events that were promoted in both English and Spanish with Spanish-speaking staff from our staff and from consultants that have been working on the project. Across all the engagement phases, we kind of found four elements that really were highlighted as important to the community, and those included safety for pedestrians and cyclists and those who are using other rolling type devices, just generally improving the access to destinations within various communities, so parks, schools, libraries, those types of destinations. Really making sure that the connection within the infrastructure is all complete. So when there's gaps, it makes it real tough for community members to make that that full journey to that destination. So we want to focus on closing those connection gaps. And then what we also heard largely was that after implementation, that maintenance is a priority for the community. So when these facilities fall into a state of disrepair, or there's a lot of trash, people don't want to use facilities that are not in good condition. So there was a focus on making sure that the facilities stay in good condition. So just to kind of restate the vision that was established, it really focused on mobility and different forms of mobility and safety for users and users of all abilities, right? So I'm not going to read the full vision statement here, but this was defined early on in our workshops and with our community. So some of the major goals that we developed through that outreach and through those community workshops, I think equity and social justice was one of the top things that we heard. Making sure that these multimodal transportation systems prioritize the needs of all individuals, regardless of race and gender and ability. We want to provide a transportation system that's usable by all and for all. We wanted we heard the goal was to provide a system that benefits the health and well-being of our community. Again, increasing access and connectivity for the community, doing so in a safe and comfortable manner, and we'll talk about what comfort means in terms of transportation systems. a little bit more. And then, also, we had the goal of doing this in collaboration with our community and in partnership with the community. So let's talk about the needs analysis. So one of the criteria that were developed with our consultant was identifying what's considered a level of stress, right? So as you can imagine, if you want to ride your bicycle on the expressway system, that's a pretty stressful environment that you're putting yourself into, and you have to be a pretty advanced cyclist to be willing to do so. You're probably not going to send your kids out on the expressway to travel to school, right? So that's when we talk level of stress. It's a mix of safety and just comfort on those systems. The network also, or the analysis, the needs analysis, again looked at that network connectivity. Where do we have gaps in our system? Where do we have potential for additional trips, right? So that's active trip potential, is looking at facilities and destinations that are near our system that can be activated if we have the right infrastructure to get people to where they are going to want to go. We looked at where we have sidewalks existing and where we need them. And then even at individual intersections, where do we have marked crosswalks? Where do we force people, say, to cross twice to get to a certain place? Because that level of inconvenience really discourages folks from using the system overall. We also looked at traffic safety. So this slide looks at our high injury network and where we see most of our collisions or crashes. As you can see, the top corridor is Capitol Expressway, but we looked at safety data throughout the county that guided some of our recommendations that we'll be bringing forward. So in terms of actual infrastructure improvements and recommendations, this is still a very high-level document. There's still a lot of work to be done to kind of design some of these recommendations and field fit them. But we wanted to, again, look at our existing infrastructure and find, get some high-level recommendations of where do we see the need to make improvements. So this slide, as you can see here, the red dots represent intersections where there are improvements recommended. They could be as simple as painting a new crosswalk. The blue lines represent network gaps, so we can see a lot of network gaps on our expressway system. There is not good pedestrian infrastructure on most of the expressway system. Cyclists can use the expressway system, but we want to, again, provide a system that meets the needs of all, so that everyone has the same opportunity to get where they need to go. Again, as we developed this infrastructure, there was a high-level focus on safety of the user. At a high level, so we have, again, one of the biggest recommendations that came out of our planning efforts here are really to re-envision our expressways. The recommendation that we found was, due to the speeds on the expressways, we really want to separate the bicycle and pedestrian users from the vehicular traffic altogether. So the recommendation that came out of the planning effort was to install Class 1 pathways, and we can, I've got a backup slide if there's questions on the different types of bike infrastructure and what those are. But the recommendation again was a Class 1, which is a bidirectional path, usually about 10 feet wide, that allows for both cyclists and pedestrians to use the pathway. But we looked at beyond just the expressway system, really the entire county, all the roadway infrastructure, and what kind of the right solution is for the different roads throughout the county. Very similar effort was undertaken for pedestrians. Won't spend a lot of time here because the maps have a lot in common with one another. The plan itself, we're not at a design level where we have individual projects identified, but we have corridors with needs identified, and even at that level, we can identify, what the kind of the big picture, I guess, costs are going to be to try and implement this infrastructure. So, a Class 1 shared use path or a separated bikeway; those are very expensive options. They represent, new physical infrastructure being built, versus say a Class 2, which is just a bike lane that's painted onto an existing street, or a Class 3, which is not even a separate bike lane. It's just a designating a road as a bike route. Similar on the pedestrian infrastructure. Again, we looked at the different types of improvements that are going to be recommended and what some of those big picture costs look like. We also went through a pretty extensive prioritization process. So, it's a little silly to see the higher, and highest categories. I'll admit that. What we found was there are so many high categories, high priority projects that we really needed to break it into even subsets. So, you can see the kind of the 4 categories of safety, health and equity, connectivity, and feasibility. So those are how we scored our projects, and then from there, what we'll do is, ideally, again, the highest priority projects are the ones that we're going to try and find funding to implement. But we also wanted to, have everything listed, because sometimes, whether it's through development or through partner agencies, somebody else may have a project that they feel is a high priority project, and they want to support and potentially fund that project. So, especially as we look into some of our neighbor cities, sometimes they have a demand or desire to close a gap, which includes a portion of county roads on their system. So we want to be able to have those projects identified so that we can support those projects. But we also want to make sure that we have our own priorities for the projects that we want to go find funding for and implement. So on to our next steps. We're in the middle of our phase 2 outreach. This meeting is part of that outreach, but we've presented an administrative draft of the plan to our partner agencies, all the cities in the county, including includes the VTA and Stanford. So we've reached out to some of our big partner agencies to get feedback on the plan itself. That was over the course of the month of August. So we're in the process right now where we're looking at those comments, and we're going to develop really a draft plan that's going to be for public consumption. That'll be posted in early October for a month, where the general public will be able to use an online tool to comment on the plan. And in the meantime, we've been taking this show on the road, so to speak. We've presented these slides and kind of our update of where we're at to the VTA BPAC. We'll do that again once we have the public draft document posted. We've taken it on special request to the Mountain View Palo Alto BPAC last month. We're going to present this to our Roads Commission in November and get their feedback once the public draft is presented or is published, and then we want to come back to Hewlett likely in November for a recommendation in early 2025 to take our plan to the Board of Supervisors. So that's kind of our rough draft of the plan. I think today what we'd like to do is go over kind of any questions that the committee members may have about the plan, and make sure that we, if we can answer them today, great. That's potentially unlikely, but we would definitely be able to come back when we come back again in November and we'll make sure we have those answers for you.
And I wanted to expand on the presentation by noting that there was extensive coordination with the Parks Department, and our Trails Planner participated, because this dovetails nicely and supports each other. And we're planning to bring the countywide Trails Master Plan update at the October Hewlett meeting. And really, our overall goal is, when you take the work of both Parks and Roads and our other departments, is we're trying to provide alternative commute, allow kids to safely commute to school. If anyone lives near a school, you see that pattern of traffic jams at schools, so that we're trying to make it safer for kids, reduce commute congestion, reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, and allow children and everybody to be able to get more physical exercise if they want it. And so this accomplishes a lot of our policy goals, and collectively we're very proud of the work. And when we there's an equity component. So if you saw the presentation, there's a lot of opportunities on Capitol Expressway. And in particular, as you know from work, like we've seen the analysis in the color of law, historically there have been communities of color that lacked that public infrastructure investment, and not only curbs, sidewalks, and gutters, but also mature trees that reduce heat islands. And so, as I said, this accomplishes quite a bit of our collective policy goals. So we're quite proud of the work. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for the presentation. And I'm going to turn first to my public comment first. Yes. So I'm going to ask Peggy.
We have no speakers in chambers and 1 minute for hands in the Zoom room. And we have no hands, so no speakers.
No speakers. Okay. So we are going to move on to my colleague, Supervisor Simidian.
Thank you. I think the report's, very detailed. I actually have a sort of a bigger picture, forgive the cliche, 30,000 foot question for whoever would like to respond. How do we see our county's role and your agency's role in respect to VTA? And I ask because, and I'm going to show my predisposition here. VTA, of course, is a transit agency. It also is our congestion management agency for the county. That has always been a source of concern to me. It's not a criticism, it's just a sort of a structural concern that I have, which is that if you have to get up every day, as VTA does, and figure out how do you meet payroll and how do you make the trains run on time, literally in their case, that there's a certain inclination, I think, to focus on that operational obligation, possibly at the expense of the sort of larger congestion management responsibility for all 2 million Santa Clara County residents. So I put that over here, and then I say, we're over here at Roads and Airports. How do you see our piece of the world? I mean, it just sort of like roles and responsibilities and relationships is what I'm asking about.
Let me try to answer that. And I also want to clarify, I don't have COVID. I got a cold and I did take a test, and I don't have COVID.
We wish you a speedy recovery regardless.
Yeah, I wanted to be. This is probably the one of the more important things that we have brought to this committee, and I absolutely did not want to miss it. Supervisor Simidian, that question is as commonly from you is pretty high level, and I think what it struck in me was some observations that I've gathered in my time being the director of this department, and especially contrasted with my service in the city of San Jose, where at a certain point I worked very much in traffic and congestion management, and I worked closely with the VTA. And I understand that the VTA's mission, structurally, the way the VTA is set up is very different than most counties in California. I think that there was a period of time when the Congestion Management Agency itself was really an offshoot of the air quality regulations, and we were working very closely with them on these things called deficiency plans, which were identifying areas where air quality was poor, and then using land development as a mechanism for raising funds, and then using those funds to improve that
And
area.
excuse the interruption, I'll channel my inner
yeah.
clerk and ask you to pull the microphone a little bit
Oh, I'm
closer.
sorry. I'm
Particularly with the
sorry.
mask today. Thank you.
Yeah, so, no, too close. And I do see that and I beg the VTA's forgiveness. I think that, and I wouldn't even say the VTA, I think California I've seen it move away from congestion management in the traditional sense, because we've utilized different tools to manage land use. And when the cities are, if you look at our county with all the green lines, urban growth policies, intensification policies, you start to understand that the attempt to control or to improve air quality through regulations on land development they were designed around sprawl and the city's lack of discipline on controlling its land development. And the cities have kind of come around to that generally. I'm not saying this applies necessarily out in the Central Valley. So, I've seen a decrease in emphasis on that part and more of an increase in emphasis on transit-oriented development and intensification within the boundaries of the sphere of influence of the cities. Then I'd add to that, and I don't want to get too long here, is Santa Clara County is also really unique when you compare us to like LA, because we have this expressway system. And if you look at our freeway system, you see that it's really undersized for the urban core that we have. And if you compared our urban core to LA's, you'd see a lot more freeways. But we don't have those freeways because we have the expressways. So we're this really unique organization, and we act in some cases like a Caltrans on those big, big roads. And those roads are really vital for the economic vitality of the region. And then we've got these small roads all over that are serving the community. So, I find this job kind of fascinating, and I certainly underestimated it when I first took it to understand, kind of the complexities of the variety of communities that we serve, and then kind of understanding how we link up with the various cities. I know that maybe wasn't directly, I think deeply about this. I'm not sure if I have a definitive kind of answer for you. I will also say that the VTA has also taken up the mantra of, hey, look, if we've got an important corridor that crosses a lot of jurisdictions, the VTA is now implementing local street projects. A good example would be the Bascom Avenue corridor, where the VTA understands that it goes from Santa Clara, San Jose, County of Santa Clara, back into San Jose and then Campbell. You recognize that with all those agencies kind of, different ideas on that street, the VTA is kind of taking the lead in a transportation planning standpoint on that road, and we're about to get a project going there. So VTA is also doing some highway and roadway projects in really specialized areas, and we work closely with them. I'm not sure if that helps.
No, it does. Thank you. I wanted a sort of a more conceptual framework to process all this more detailed information. And so thank you for that, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I also have a couple of questions. I know that that this is just the beginning, right? Or you're picking up from pre-pandemic times, and I appreciate that where you're at is kind of at the beginning of this, right? And so one of the things that I appreciate as a mom is that connectivity with between the connectivity gaps that you reflected and making sure that you closed them and recognizing actually where people are and the kinds of paths they're going to take. And since the county is really more responsible for the expressways, is there going to be like a more focused, concerted effort around expressways Are we going to bring in Vision Zero? And I'm going to connect this with you have a slide of like injuries for the different areas, but you didn't include fatalities on there. And so one, I wanted you to include the fatalities because that tells us the kinds of needs for that particular area. And then, you know, I don't know about the other cities, but, you know, the city of San Jose has, I'm sure you'll do this because you sent this draft to all of the cities, as you mentioned, that you'll get their feedback. And when I was at the city, we had a whole task force to help feed the Department of Transportation community input around equity and that framework. So I think you'll find a lot to explore there. But one of the main things that they have is Vision Zero, and connected to the schools is walk and roll programs. And walk and roll programs are one of the ways that we encourage our kids to get to school, whether it's on bike, walking. And by the way, I really love this logo, this active logo where you have the bicycle and then what is it called? It's not called it's the next one, whatever it is. And then the little bike, and then somebody running, and somebody also in a wheelchair. So anyways, you've incorporated all the modalities in that modern one as well, so I was really impressed. I love it. And I think that it really shows exactly what we're trying to do, right? In so many different ways, so great job on that. But going back to my question is, are you going to already assume that you're going to incorporate Vision Zero? Why haven't we talked about it? And why not also focus on the high injury networks and actually spell out some of those deaths?
Yeah, thank you, Supervisor Arenas. So I will say that the full report does dive much deeper into the injury data, including fatalities and other what's the term for the severe injuries, right? So we didn't have that map on the slide in the presentation, but that's a section within the report itself that will be when it's published. You can get a much better, I think, understanding of that incorporation into the overall plan itself.
And let me just interject here really quickly, Chris, because this is where I'm going to go with this, is that in my district, specific to San Jose, there's less occurrences, but more severe injuries and resulting in fatalities. And so there has to be a different kind of approach than in the other parts of the county and the other parts of San Jose. And this is one of the things that I wanted to distinguish. I did distinguish at the city, and I'm going to distinguish now, is that when we take a look at areas like mine and potentially Supervisor Simidian, but I'm not sure what happens with his in terms of traffic and speeding, we get a lot of speeders because we have long roads, right? And I mean, just last week, there was a sideshow in San Jose that resulted in a death. And sideshows are, just kind of the cornerstone of our district because we have these long corridors, wide and just perfect for that, right? And so I think I would like for you to take into account that my district has slightly something different. Even if it does have less occurrences, the severity of those injuries typically are death. And so we have a higher death count in terms of those collisions. And how would we, well, first take into account, if you can consider that nuance, not just in my district, for everywhere else, because it tells you kind of a different story than the rest of the folks, right? Who might have more incidents but less severity. And so, one, I guess, would you account for that at some point or another? And how would you incorporate that in terms of a strategy?
Yeah, I think the report, the full plan does take that into consideration, and what we see is, like you pointed out, is that the higher the speeds are on the roadway system, the greater the chance for those severe injuries or fatalities. And so you'll see in the report itself a kind of a nexus between speed and our recommended improvements that go along that corridor. So, if speeds are up in the 40 to 55 mile an hour range, there's a much higher need to separate the bike and pedestrian facilities from the roadway network to give them that extra buffer or safety as they as the pedestrian or the cyclist or the roller uses that network system.
Got it. Okay. I'd love to see how you can maybe distinguish between the different expressways, aside from the collisions, pull out the severity of the deaths, and maybe at one point or another in your presentation, as you say, that your report actually has, because we just are getting the first draft of the plan, right? And this is all very concept, very big picture. But I'd like for you to take that into consideration, because we have been dealing, all the cities have been dealing with these kinds of collisions, and in particular in my part of the county, which is the biggest, I think I have the biggest one, district. And so it just presents different kinds of challenges. And I'd like for that to be considered. Yeah. Okay, and the other piece is, I'm going to talk about South County. And the other one, they had the red dots and the blue lines. I think it was previous to this. No, maybe the one after. Yeah. Do you see the dots over in Gilroy? There's only one. And so I'm wondering, the intersection gaps, is that based on just the community feedback or your assessment, or a combination of both?
Be a combination of both.
Combination of both. Okay, so I would ask you to please consider, pre-pandemic, there was a Cal Poly graduate student on development of a strategic plan for San Martin. And it was street designs and whatnot. So I think there's some really good information there if you could incorporate that. And then there was, what other pieces was it in Gilroy? I think that I want to thank you for the feedback that you got from Caras in Gilroy, but I would like for that to be more comprehensive. There's a combination of a lot of people on the street walking, especially from what I just anecdotally, what I see is a lot of farm worker folks on the streets. And so I think we also have to take that into account, how people connect to their work and places of play and shopping, because I think that is really important, and those outlets out there just produce a lot of street traffic anyways, but I think in general there's a lot of folks who are just walking. Okay, and we are we're defaulted as the government entity for San Martin, and so I think if we don't do that, I'm not sure who else would, right? There's nobody really doing that for them. Okay, and let's see. I think that was it for my piece. I just like to see a lot more feedback and assessment in the south part of the county. And I think with that, I will ask my colleague to provide a motion for us.
Motion would be to approve the recommended action, which is simply to receive the report with the requests from committee members incorporated as well, Madam Chair.
Wonderful. I'm going to second that. And we're going to ask Peggy.
Vice Chairperson Semidion. Aye. Chairperson Arenas.
Aye, too.
Motion carries.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, both of you, for all the really good work. I look forward to the presentation in November, and I know we're going to fill it all up in terms of feedback and all of these areas that we've talked about, so I look forward to it. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to item number 5, and this is to receive the verbal report from the Office of County Executive relating to agriculture worker housing.
Good morning, Sylvia Gallegos, Deputy County Executive. I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach today because I wanted to uplift the work of the various departments who are working on aspects of this. And so today we will start with the intergovernmental relations component, and we have here Deputy County Executive David Campos to provide that part of the update.
Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Chair Arenas, Vice Chair Semidion. Thank you to Sylvia Gallegos, Deputy County Executive David Campos, and I'm here today to give a very brief update on the work that IGR has done on this very critical issue. And it's been a very long and exciting journey. And I want to begin by thanking all of the folks in the county organization that have been involved in this. Sylvia Gallegos, of course, our planning department has provided a lot of technical support. David Bruno. I also want to acknowledge the work of the County Council's office, Aaron Forbath, and others. As folks may know, this legislation, Assembly Bill 3035, was authored by Assemblymember Gail Pellerin. It's a bill that furthers the work of Speaker Robert Rivas by streamlining the development of affordable housing for agricultural employees through a pilot here in Santa Clara County and in Santa Cruz County. When this becomes law, and hopefully that will happen soon, qualified affordable housing organizations that are certified by the California Housing and Community Development Department could submit an application for development that is within 15 miles of designated farmland or grazing land and within the County of Santa Clara or the County of Santa Cruz. The bill expedites the process of approval, and it will allow for projects that include up to 150 units. The current law that was passed by Speaker Rivas allows for projects that have 36 units. And this bill has gone through a very extensive legislative process on both houses. It received strong bipartisan support throughout this. There was actually a no vote, so no vote on the bill. And that complicated things actually in the end because of the unanimity and the support. A technical amendment on an unrelated matter was added to the legislation, which held it in suspense for a little bit, but we were able to get that through. So we're very happy that this was passed by both houses. It's currently sitting at the desk of Governor Newsom, and he has until the end of the month to act, and we hope that he will be able to sign shortly. With that, I want to just say that what this does is that it really moves the needle in this area, because if you look at the entire state, unfortunately, the legislation that then Assemblymember Rivas passed hasn't really led to the building of more ag worker housing in parts of the state. And so this is an attempt to tweak that law to actually have results. And by having a pilot that is here and in Santa Cruz, we have an opportunity to play a leadership role in building ag worker housing, and it's not happening anywhere else. And so, we're very proud of the opportunity to lead on this issue. So with that, I am happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm going to look at, nope. Okay, wonderful. Then I'm just going to thank you profusely for the work that you are doing for us on our behalf. And of course, your leadership, Sylvia. This is, I think, just really something that needed to get done. And I'm so grateful that we have both of you leading on this. And hopefully, I knocked on wood. I hope everybody, I don't know, I'm superstitious, but everybody does the same so that we can have the governor finally sign that and not be the last thing that is on his desk. But that we really prioritize all of our community because this particular, specifically this kind of community has been overlooked for a really long time. And so it really takes a different kind of valor to do this, because I know there's plenty of folks out there who have their own ideas about our water and the way that we use our land and how they perceive having some densification in housing for agricultural workers. So thank you so much. I'm absolutely grateful.
If I may add one thing, Madam Chair, I think something that was really important was to humanize the issue at the outset of this process. And kudos to you and your staff, because you actually came to Sacramento and testified in committee about why this was so important to your constituents, and the fact that we have hundreds of, we need hundreds of units for these workers that put food on the table. And I think that your involvement, your engagement in this process has been really critical. And I think it was really hard for folks to oppose an effort after your testimony. And so thank you and your staff for your engagement.
Thank you so much, David. I didn't cry. But close to it. No, I'm kidding. Listen, I think that you paving the way in terms of how to be strategic and make sure that people hear us and know about our specific wants and needs is really important, and it's probably the most effective way to get something across the finish line. So thank you so much for doing that. I look forward to continuing to have these kinds of legislations that have these kinds of fixes. And the next thing that I hope that we can be on the lookout for is, of course, our scattered sites into our short-term residential facilities, because that also needs a legislative fix. But for now, we are going to just celebrate and then hopefully put a little pressure on the governor to sign. So
Expanding on the legislative wins of intergovernmental relations,
Yeah.
and on the report, expanding on the report, as you know, since you participated in the press conference on August 27th, we did earn the Lofgren grant that we applied for a year earlier. And for those of you who are not acquainted, the county is receiving $1.6 million to work with current farmers and other developers where there is ag workers. Mm-hmm. And as Jacqueline Anshano would tell you, with code enforcement violations, our goal is education and compliance, not, to take enforcement action. But now we have another inducement, which is resources, funding to help property owners get their housing in compliance. And there's also, as you know, the opportunity to also provide electrification or solar projects, and that on an ongoing basis reduces expenses. So we're very excited about that as well. And obviously that was in partnership with Mr. Campos's team and obviously Representative Lofgren, so we're quite pleased with that win as well.
Yeah, I don't know why I forgot that, because I have the 6-foot check in my office, probably showing that off. Yes, this shows, and to Supervisor Simitian, I know that when I first came on board, there was a level of frustration, if I can qualify it that way, or maybe you want to correct me if I'm wrong, around the work that was happening with farm workers and their housing and just in relationship to that. And so I just think I think it's almost, a year and 9 months later, we have this comprehensive work plan that is going to lead us into a center for agricultural workers that is going to streamline projects when they come in so that folks can just kind of take a cookie cutter approach to this, that we have legislation at the state level, that we have this 1.6 for electrification and modifications of folks, hopefully to correct some of the wrongs that have been happening out there. I mean, it's just so, and we had a survey for farm workers and for farmers, both the same, really listening to the needs of the folks. And I've just got to say that it has been just wonderful to have you, Supervisor Simidian, sitting in this committee, providing some of that the institutional knowledge that, I'm going to lose soon enough because you won't be part of Hewlett anymore. And so hopefully when any of these items come across us, if you can continue to download some of that institutional knowledge to all of us, because if we don't know where we've been, we can't possibly correct where we're going in the future. And so I also want to thank you for your advocacy right from the start, and thank you for sharing with us all the good work that you did before. This is something that I just carried on, but obviously you being part of the Hewlett committee have cared for and guided this so far. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's been a pleasure to share my frustration at the slow pace of change, which I will.
That is not what I said.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's been a pleasure to share my frustration at the slow pace of change, and it is a reminder, and in regard to your efforts and staff's efforts and the teams, you just have to keep pushing. If anyone asked me to sum up my my take on public service through the years, it would be everything takes too damn long. That would be my. But if you are the proverbial dog with a bone and just hang on, things that seemed out of our reach can eventually come to pass. And so there's a lot to be said for what I'll call tenacity. And I think, it is. And now I'm going to be just a little reflective since you've given me the opening, and thank you. I think when I was in Sacramento, I remember the staff there, somewhat jaded through the years, would say, there are no new bills, there are only new members, meaning that they'd seen it all before and new members arrived. But I think it is essential to understand that as much as it's the inclination of elected officials to think the world began the day they arrived on the dais, that, truth be told, you pass the baton to the next, and the next, and the next. I'm very proud of the work I did on renewable energy, which established the 20% and then 33% renewable portfolio standard. But I have to tell you, I built on the work of my predecessor, State Senator Byron Scher, and others have now gone well beyond those numbers, as we hoped they would, and they now have. And so, carry on. That's my message to the team. Thank you.
We have more presentations, or we can cut this short if you'd like. With respect, I have two other directors that are happy to report out on the work related to this, or we can certainly move on.
We're on this, so let's
All
do
right,
it.
so let me turn then to Director Edgar, good grief, Nolasco, because he and his team were the ones that have these past months spearheaded the work on the Ag Worker Housing Survey. And as I said at the beginning, I really want to shine a light on these departments doing this righteous work.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Chair,
Welcome.
Supervisor Meeting. A brief update on SEPA's endeavors and as part of this project. I just want to start as the son of a Mexican immigrant and a current ag worker. This project is very close to my heart, and I'm very passionate about it. So I appreciate the opportunity of being part of this great opportunity. First of all, many thanks to our Deputy County Executive, Silvia Gallegos, for her leadership and guidance throughout the whole process. Also, many thanks to our team that helped put this together. ACK and SIPA, Adriana Lopez, David Bruno in the County Executive Office, and our former Ag Commissioner, Joe Davini. In anticipation of the 3 resource events that we had dedicated to ag workers, we partnered with the County of Santa Barbara, LULAC, UFW, GADAS, council members from the City of Gilroy, the Farm Bureau, Mum Growers, St. Catherine and St. Mary's Catholic Parish, and other multiple farm labor contractors. We hosted 3 ag resource days, 3 ag worker resources days. One of them I felt was really special because we were able to put the event together and host the event and simultaneously translate in both Spanish and in Chinese. We hosted an event dedicated to our Chinese growers in the south part of the county, and it was very well attended. We partnered with many county agencies and other agencies that were part of the Ag Resources Day. I'm going to list some of them. Board offices from District 1 were there at the 3 events. The U.S. Department of Labor, various teams within social services, which included the CalFresh team, CalWorks, Medi-Cal, the Office of Supportive Housing, our Behavioral Health Services Department, the City of Morgan Hill, the City of Gilroy, the Santa Clara Office of Ed, Migrant Services, GADAS, and Community Health Partnership. So we took the opportunity to bring individuals, our ag workers, into this Ag Resource Day, teach them about services that the county provides and other vendors provide in order to help and educate our ag workers. Overall, we had about 210 attendees. And many thanks again to GADAS because they partnered with us to get this done on a short notice. And then we put together multiple surveys that we put out to the community. We reached out to over 226 employers that we identified in the county that are in the ag commodities, and with our top 10 farm labor contractors that employ our FLC workers or H-2A workers into this county. And that is my update.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Director Nolasco. This is wonderful. This is us all really coming together, and I apologize that I didn't recognize the efforts there. I have one question around you had a simultaneous Chinese and Spanish, which I think is absolutely impressive, and then you had one with Chinese-specific farm workers. Am I to assume that the third one that you did was Spanish speaking?
That is correct.
Great. Okay. Wonderful. And thank you for the whole list of folks who, that participated. You know, one of the we should always start from our home. I also want to thank my team. Patrick McGarity is that dog with a bone. He definitely did a lot of research and made a lot of connections to learn about what our next door neighbors are doing in other jurisdictions, and really delved into trying to figure out what the possibilities are for us. And so I just really want to thank him and overall just my team for that level of support. Vicki Lamb, of course. I think this is an opportunity for us to celebrate, and I'm happy to take a little bit more time. Is there another person? Yes, let's do it.
So the last director is our OSH director, Catherine Kaminsky.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair. Thank you. At first, I want to just say thanks to the board leadership and support of ag worker housing, and of course recognize that I'm relatively new in this role, and the reason I have some good news to share is because our Deputy County Executive, Consuelo Hernandez, and her dedication and commitment to making ag worker housing part of what we do at the Office of Supportive Housing. So I'd like to share that Royal Oak Village was 100% leased up as of August 30th. Great news. We learned a tremendous amount in that process of leasing up our first development, and we are currently taking those lessons learned from Royal Oak Village into our consideration for the 8th and Alexander site. We want to be really thoughtful about the lessons that we learned, the challenges that the ag worker community is facing, and at the same time recognizing the financing reality that we're in, knowing that the regional housing bond is off the ballot, and make sure that we're creating a project that has a clear financing path. So we are taking both of those things, and we'll be able to share more about 8th and Alexander after we have incorporated both of those considerations into our planning.
Oh, wonderful, and I would like offline if we can connect about that and to learn a little bit. I think it was mentioned previously, some of those challenges. I'd like to know what those are specifically about and see how we can be supportive. But thank you so much for the first lease up on the development. Congratulations. I look forward to seeing how we can continue to do this for all of our communities. And is that the last presentation?
I would only offer, I won't spend time today on the permit transformation process in the interest of time, only other than to say that we are accelerating the work around developing lists of consultants to help applicants be paired up with consultants who can be effective, particularly around the septic systems. So we'll be bringing that forward sooner.
Oh, that's very specific. Okay.
Thank you,
Yep.
that's it.
Apologies, Chair Arenas. I did have one more. That was all good news, and also what had one more update that I wanted to share related to this topic. The OSH is looking at the HCD CERNA funding. So the state recently published an updated NOFA calendar with the home ownership super NOFA. We expect that to be released in November. Those funds are available. The Joe Cerna homeownership funds will be included in the NOFA, and we want to and are planning to apply for funding to support our manufactured home purchase program. If we're awarded, we would these funds would be used to support ag worker households. So, just share a little bit about the manufactured home purchase program. This is a new proposed pilot program that we've mentioned in our draft. That's mentioned in the draft housing element. The concept is that we would provide alternative first mortgages and deferred financing to ELI and VLI households to allow them to purchase existing manufactured homes in mobile home parks. So we, at this point, have draft program guidelines, and right now they're not restricted to ag workers, but we do plan to market heavily to the farm worker community. And if we receive the CERNA award, those homes would be restricted to ag workers. So the program guidelines will be released for public comment in the coming weeks, and we're targeting board approval by the end of the calendar year. So likely we would bring both the Joe CERNA application as well as the program guidelines by the end of the year.
Oh, that's, wow. All right, you're just making me smile. Okay. This is wonderful. These are the kinds of meetings I want us to continue to have. I challenge you. All right, well, thank you so much for that, for all of those reports relating to agriculture worker housing. I mean, just the level of work that's coming out of all of your departments is so impressive, and I'm just my heart is full of so much gratitude to all of you for working together with us, and of course your leadership. So thank you. I'm going to.
Would you like a motion just to receive the report?
Ooh,
Madam Chair,
yes,
or no?
yes, sir. Thank you.
Move approval of the recommended action, which is to receive the report on item number 5 relating to agricultural worker housing.
I'm going to second it.
And before I take the vote, to note to the chair that we do not have speakers on this item
Oh,
in the
thank
Zoom
you.
room or in chambers.
Thank you.
And for the vote, Vice Chairperson Semedian.
Aye.
Chairperson Arenas.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All righty, we're going to move on to item number 6, and this is expanding temporary housing opportunities. Also a really great topic here. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair. KJ Kaminsky, Acting Director of the Office of Supportive Housing. The report before you is related to a referral from the May 21st board meeting, and there's several components here, so I'm going to give it kind of a big picture update on temporary housing progress, and then address or share a few highlights from each of the components in the report. So to start, to date, our temporary housing capacity, we have been able to increase our temporary housing capacity countywide from about almost 1,900 units in 2019 to over 2,800 units as of June of this year. We also have an additional 384 units in the pipeline. So this represents a 53% increase from when we started the current iteration of the Community Plan to End Homelessness. And in particular, the capacity to serve families in temporary housing has increased significantly from, we had 88 units in 2019 to over 450 units today. We know that there is still a need, and we're still working to continue expanding. One of the components of the report is a question about how do we decrease the wait list for families in our community. Right now, we are seeing the wait list for referral to shelter beds for families is about 4 months, whereas it's 3 to 5 weeks for single adults. To immediately decrease that time that a family is waiting for a referral to shelter, both permanent and temporary housing would need to be increased. Permanent housing increases give us the ability to move people directly from the streets into permanent housing. Temporary housing also allows us to move people into temporary shelter, but what we see, many families and individuals in our community need some permanent supporting or an affordable permanent housing assistance or an affordable unit to move into in order to leave that shelter. So I think with our heading home efforts, a good example we saw of this when we saw an increase in resources in permanent housing through our emergency housing voucher program, we were able to pull families off the wait list for shelter and place them directly into permanent housing, while we were also pulling folks from shelter and placing them into permanent housing, and that the time they were spending in temporary shelter was much decreased. So that resource of, it's a balance of both addressing the immediate need, but we know that permanent housing can address that immediate need as well. And so really reducing that wait list would require both permanent and temporary housing support. The opportunities for temporary housing for families, we have in the past several years, the way we've been able to expand across the community is doing things like our hotel programs, which we now have over 150 units. We opened our most recent hotel in the last month that has over 50 units for families. The home key sites that are in development or completed, such as the Mountain View home key site, the Palo Alto home key site is in development, has 24 family units. So these are ways that we can add family and add resources for families. I think the challenges here, of course, are the costs and also making sure that we have permanent exits for those families once they're going into shelters. We see our families do tend to have longer lengths of stay in our temporary housing because it's just continues to be a challenge to find affordable units to move into. A few other components here in this report. One of the referrals was to look at North County's small-scale shelter opportunities. in our most recent report back to the full board, we talk about expanding shelter opportunities in North County. We talked about the importance of working with the cities in partnership with them because they are really the hosts for these shelters. So we do plan to explore all types of temporary housing, including small-scale opportunities with these cities as we're doing outreach in North County, but also as we're doing outreach related to the community plan to end homelessness. That outreach is in progress, but I think some of those opportunities that we may be looking at are, are there ways that we can expand small scale at places of worship, at some of the small scale safe parking operations that we have. We'll be looking at any and all possibilities with in partnership with those cities. With regard to the Mountain View Cold Weather program, we saw last year that we did serve more families than we had in previous years because of this increasing need for families, and we have been able to expand the period of operations as well. With the operations this year, because there is additional family resources in North County, including the North County shelter transitioning to a family shelter, with Mountain View Home Key having family sites, we expect to serve more single adults because of that expansion. And the last component of the referral was resources in South County. So we, in the report, you'll see a chart that details the temporary housing resources that we have there. The Gilroy Shelter has been in operation for decades as a cold weather shelter program, and we were able to convert that to year-round 24/7 rather than just overnight during the pandemic. So that's a really important resource, as well as we work with the South County Compassion Center to provide outreach and connection to resources. They also have a safe parking program. And I know we mentioned year-round support, but we also continue to operate the Ochoa Family Cold Weather Shelter Program. There are other transitional housing and outreach resources in South County that are not county, that are operated independent of county funding, such as Pit Stop Outreach and some transitional housing operated by CBOs in South County. And I just lastly wanted to note with regard to South County is when we share about the resources there, our permanent supportive housing and rapid rehousing programs are countywide. So the utilization of folks in South County and people being supported by those countywide resources. We had, in last fiscal year, for example, 422 households that were affiliated with Gilroy and Morgan Hill were housed in our PSH programs, as well as 111 were housed in our rapid rehousing programs. And when it comes to homelessness prevention services, or the homelessness prevention system, although that's not a South County specific, it's a county-wide program, wanted to share that 259 households from South County, Gilroy and Morgan Hill were supported through our homelessness prevention system. So that was a lot, and it was 5 different components of this referral that we received from the board, but I am happy to answer any questions or expand further if needed. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I'm going to look to my, first we're going to look for public comment. Peggy.
We have no speakers in chambers. We do have one hand raised in the Zoom room.
Wonderful.
OSH lacks credibility. Your mic is open. You will have 2 minutes to speak. Please accept the unmute.
Sylvia, you wanted to focus on fatalities. In item 4, here's fatalities. 149 unhoused deaths since January. This has us on pace to exceed last year's total of 223 deaths. If my memory serves, this was also supposed to be an update on the Sunnyvale shelter. Where's the construction update? Where's any substantial information? In every meeting, we ask for hard dates. When the shelter is closing, because we all hear it is. When construction begins and ends, when the singles will be admitted, when the families will be admitted, when the singles will stop being admitted, winter is nearly here. Sunnyvale is still a low barrier shelter, is it not? Then why is a disabled alcoholic who was severely injured due to a fall in the shelter out on the streets where their health is getting worse? Advocates are caring for them, but they should not have been removed from a low barrier shelter. Speaking of removal, no advocates have been allowed on shelter properties since Bill Wilson took over, and OSH has told us we are not allowed. Both of them can say whatever excuses they want, but we are being intentionally excluded, and Supervisor Sumedian knows the critical role advocates have played there. When advocates meet with clients, the clients are all report back that they are retaliated against by staff. Advocates are clearly being intentionally kept out of the shelter. Clients report inedible food, not being given adequate meals, a single biscuit for breakfast, granola bars as meals. There's something wrong at the Sunnyvale shelter. When advocates can't see things for themselves, we will always side with the clients. There is something wrong at that shelter. We need updates and clear dates, and today should be the day.
And that concludes our speakers.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Supervisor Sumedian for comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Kaminsky, how long have you worked with the county now, if I may ask?
I believe it's a little over 7 years.
Yeah. So I'm going to take the opportunity to be the institutional memory, which is the polite way of saying the outgoing supervisor who wants to remind you of what took place some years ago. When I came back on the board in 2013, and I've shared this with some of you previously, so please forgive me. When I came back on board in 2013, I was startled to discover that the old shelter in Sunnyvale was slated for demolition and obviously closure, and that there was not a plan in place at that time to replace the cold weather shelter. And when I asked about that, the response I got was, well, you know, we're moving towards housing first and permanent supportive housing. And my reaction to that was, well, that's well and good and important and obviously the ultimate goal, but, you know, what about in the meantime, where are those 125 people going to go who frankly didn't, you know, get a lot at that old shelter, basically a Quonset hut roof and a place on the floor and a meal. And there was no reservation system and no real services to speak of. But still, it was a whole lot better than nothing, which was the alternative. And sure enough, once the shelter closed, you know, we had 125 people who showed up in our census as unsheltered homeless out in the street and in the community. I waited a while I got my bearings as a new member and then said, we got to find a replacement, and brought that to the board somewhat tentatively, candidly, because the word I got was you're going to get pushback from people who think shelters are somehow inappropriate and that we should be focused on the permanent supportive housing. To everyone's credit, I think people understood that in the absence of an emergency shelter, a cold weather shelter, we were going to have a problem, and the board and the county staff worked to provide some interim solutions the first year or two that we were without a site, including a modular site that I think you've certainly been familiar with, before we ended up at Hamlin. The facility was not in my district, was not in the portion of Sunnyvale I then represented. Today I represent none of Sunnyvale, but it did in fact deliver 125 spaces for folks to get in out of the cold weather. And as I think you do know, over time, we were able to get that 125 increased to 150, sometimes even more. We were able to take the 4 months and make it 6 months and then make it year-round. We were able to make sure that there was a reservation system so that people knew they had a secure place and there was some element of placement there, along with providing services. But that was the farthest north, and as I say, still not in the district that I represented. That was the farthest north. And you know, Sunnyvale, I would call kind of a tweener. When people talk about the North County, you know, some people think Sunnyvale's the North County, some people don't, candidly. So as you know, I then pushed for this site at Trinity United Methodist Church in Mountain View. And one of the challenges, Madam Chair, that District 5 has, and I know you're familiar with it, having two of the, quote, so-called smaller cities in your district, in addition to San Jose, is, you know, each community culture is different, each community's process is different, each community's governmental systems are different, each community has somebody different in charge of working through these issues with our county. So in the North County and the West Valley areas that I now represent, we've got 9 different cities and towns, and that creates for you and your organization just sort of a multiplicity of challenges. I mean, it would be great if there was one place you could go and develop the understanding and the relationships, but there are 9. That's the deal. And so in Mountain View, and I, forgive me while I break my arm patting myself on the back on this one, but I am contrasting the recent brouhaha around a reentry facility with our experience in Mountain View, where because it's a caring community with a can-do staff at the city level, and because my office and county staff, so back to OSH, and local nonprofits did the outreach that's necessary, and I would argue really required if you're going to be successful. When we had our first hearing, Madam Chair, in front of the zoning administrator in the city of Mountain View, the hearing lasted 7 minutes. And the reason it lasted 7 minutes is because there was no one from the immediate neighborhood, and this is a facility that is immediately across from single-family homes in downtown Mountain View. There was no one there to oppose, 0. And a year later, when we had a compliance hearing, and again, I am not exaggerating, the hearing lasted 3 minutes. And the reason it lasted 3 minutes is because they said, anybody here to express concern about the operation over the last year? This is the Mountain View facility, and the answer was no. You know, they'd gone a year's worth of operations without any, you know, I mean, there were issues, and people did what they were supposed to do, which is answer questions in the community and address any problems that came up, and so there was no opposition at the time. So I was very pleased, I want to end with a plug for staff here, to hear you 10 minutes ago before I got on my riff, talk about the importance of doing both shelters and permanent supportive housing, because too often they have been viewed as either or. I watched with some dismay as folks in the city of San Jose got quite at each other, for lack of a better expression, around that debate. And from, you know, my seat, I was thinking, what part of we need to do all of the above is not readily apparent. Among the things that I think is not always broadly considered, but certainly is a bread and butter day-to-day challenge for your organization, and that I know you all understand, is that when we talk about addressing homelessness as broadly defined, that's a lot of different things to a lot of different people, each one of whom has a unique story. So you got to have a lot of different responses. That's the first thing that I think is, you know, sort of not always well understood. So when we talk about all these different programs, you know, I see it as not just a continuum, but a range, a multiplicity of services to address the multiplicity of circumstances that you're trying to confront and resolve. In Mountain View, let me just ask, at one point we had as many as 50 folks, or access for 50 folks. That changed a little during the COVID years, as I recall. I see the number 30 popping up now all the time. Do we really think that's the maximum we can accommodate in Mountain View?
I believe it is, but I'd be happy to follow up and see if there is any opportunity to expand further. I know there are site limitations, and I think we were even a little bit lower during the pandemic and are back up, but whether or not we can get to 50, we can look into that.
Well, if we could get an off-agenda report, Madam Chair, I would appreciate that. The facility, which, you know, to give the local nonprofit and church the credit that they're due, they came and essentially asked for help with a kitchen to provide food programs. And my reaction was, I think that sounds like a great idea, and how about we have a homeless shelter while we're at it? And they said, well, you know, that's sort of beyond our capacity. And I said, well, not if we partner with the county, and that's how we were able to get this shelter there. But as you will recall, Ms. Kimsky, we're trying to serve two groups there, families to a limited degree, and I'm hoping that given the projects that you mentioned, the change in the client mix in Sunnyvale and the Project Home Key in Palo Alto and Mountain View, I'm hoping that there's less demand for families there. But the real sort of special focus, Madam Chair, in Mountain View was on single women, because single women, again, everyone's got an individual story that's unique to their life, but you know, regrettably, far too many have a domestic violence experience, and that has essentially forced them into homelessness. And so having a shelter that was particularly responsive to the needs of single women was important. And so I think this would be a good time. We're now sort of post-COVID. We're reimagining some of this. If we could get an off-agenda report on what that North County shelter is. And the other challenge there in Mountain View is, and it's a good news, bad news situation, or to make it sound familiar on the one hand. On the other hand, you know, on the one hand, there are a lot of services being offered in that facility. That place that was once largely the focus of congregational worship is now largely the focus of good works being done, and it's become essentially a resource center for folks in the community. On the other hand, that means that takes up space that isn't always available for shelter beds. So I would appreciate that. Let me just ask, am I correct in understanding that we're going to try this year to both start a little earlier and run a little longer, because I think two things, and again, I know I'm preaching to the choir, so forgive me, but our weather patterns are anything but predictable these days. That's the first thing I would say. And the second thing I would say is that, as you point out, you know, it's not like the homelessness ends the day the rain stops. So what's our timing?
Yes, we are looking to start a little bit earlier, mid-October this year, pending, you know, some final administrative approvals and making sure our provider is able to begin with cold weather programs. Ramping up and ramping down is always a challenge for our providers, but we expect Home First will be able to, our partner there will be able to begin earlier.
Good to hear. In terms of, and forgive me, I think I was not at the board meeting where you had some of these discussions in early August after the recess, but back to the issue I raised about the 9 different jurisdictions in District 5, you know, keeping in mind there are only 15 cities and towns in the whole county. It's an awful lot of work to get even a modest number of beds, placements, units, parking spaces. I am remembering the work that my office did with your office around safe parking in Mountain View and Palo Alto, particularly, Madam Chair. And, you know, I think by any measure it was a success, but it was a relatively high effort, low return in terms of the amount of work. What did we end up with in Palo Alto? Like nine parking spaces? And it's a godsend for those folks, and it's a marvelous facility that folks have worked to create along with your office and Move Mountain View. But, you know, I remember how much work it was, how long it took. The same with what do we have, 3 sites that we've had in Mountain View, something like that. Thoughts about how you're going to have the bandwidth to go off and have these conversations in these smaller suburban communities that don't typically have the infrastructure organizationally to cope with this?
Thank you for the question, Supervisor. Some of those conversations are already happening, and we're looking at opportunities to leverage existing efforts. So for example, we're working with the city of Palo Alto to expand to be able to serve more folks at that site, which I think is around, don't quote me, but I think around 20 or so, to be able to serve more. We are also, as an example, working with the West Valley cities, Los Gatos, in partnership with Campbell, to explore opportunities there. And those cities are showing greater interest than I've seen since I started working on the community plan with the COC and engaging. So we're working with those cities. They are talking about pooling their resources and how they could do something collaboratively. In terms of bandwidth, that helps when we're working with multiple ones, but we also know each city is unique and individual, and part of the discussion in the August meeting was also working with the supervisors' offices to make those connections and collectively gather that support too.
Well, I'm going to turn and look at the county executive's representative, Ms. Gallegos. Yes, it's the good news that some of these smaller communities and quite candidly, some of the more quote, prosperous smaller communities are stepping up to say, we want to do our part, but we have kind of an odd legacy of taxing structures in this county where some of the quote, prosperous communities actually don't have very significant city budgets or town budgets, so that's a challenge. And a lot of them have historically taken the view that social services are the purview of the county. So I am, like you, I think, pleased that they're stepping up and stepping in. On the other hand, that's going to create more work for you. So I know we're in a tough budget cycle, and that next year's going to be a tough budget cycle as well. But I kind of want to sort of lay it out there that because I know it's sometimes hard for departments, agencies, and offices to lobby the county executive for more money, that you're not going to be able to go engage with these folks who are now, in many cases, willing and ready to engage and make partners of them if you don't have the bodies to do it. So I just want to sort of put that out there as a factor for consideration going forward. And I've come, Madam Chair, to a conclusion about years ago. I went home and said to my wife, I wish these advocates could be reasonable, and she just kind of laughed and said, honey, that's not their job. That's your job. Their job is to be advocates. So the advocates are always going to want us to do better and do more, and thank God that they're out there, asking us to do better and do more. On the other hand, it's our job to say, what can we actually get done and get it done? And that's kind of where I think we're always going to be, and that's a healthy tension if properly understood and managed, I think. But I do think it's going to be a challenge to bring some of these smaller communities in and bring them along, and that's not going to and I'd hate to have us miss the opportunity is what I'm really trying to say. I think there's a window of opportunity here now. Last thing is to folks in your operation and really all of the organization, I don't know how you get up every day and keep doing the work when the problem seems to just keep getting worse. And I know it's not terribly gratifying or satisfying or heartwarming to say, well, it could be even worse still, but that's the truth of the matter. And I look at some of the numbers, the targets that were set years ago, and I see that we are getting to them or approaching them, and yet the problem gets worse, and people in the public ask, what are you people doing? And whenever it starts with you people, I know it's going downhill in a hurry. So, and I think, without making excuses, there are societal forces at play. The economy is not something Santa Clara County gets to control. The mental health state of the nation is not something Santa Clara County gets to control. The flow of drugs into the country is not something Santa Clara County gets to control. So I think, stay at it is all I can say, but let's be realistic about what that's going to take to pull other new partners in. I think the challenges that your office faces, your organization faces, are so great that a lot of people just kind of say, beyond us. And my experience working, in this organization and in others is if everybody will just take a piece of the problem, and a lot of progress can be made. The Mountain View experience that I've referenced a couple times, Madam Chair, is one where without the nonprofit, without the church, without the city, without the neighborhood, without the county, any one of those partners disappears, and frankly, we probably have no shelter. And is it hard to collaborate? Yeah. Speaking as an only child who always liked to do things his way, I get that. But these partnerships are going to be essential in the smaller communities in particular, and I suspect in San Jose as well. And so that's why I'm going to just give one last meaningful look at the county executive's office, Ms. Gallegos, and say I hope people are mindful of how much work that partnership building and maintaining is as you go forward in coming budgets. Thank you for letting me comment at length.
Thank you. Did you want a response, Supervisor Simitian?
I think we're going to get the off agenda on the North County shelter in particular, and I can't tell if Ms. Gallegos is leaning in or not, Madam Chair, but I really just sort of wanted to elevate that portion of the conversation, that these partnerships, these relationships, they're time consuming. Somebody's got to do the work. District offices can help in some cases, but not every one. And I want to make sure that doesn't get lost in the shuffle going forward, because I think it's going to be key.
Ms. Gallegos, would you like to respond?
Happy to respond. With respect to the narrow comment about advocating on behalf of OSH and its needs, we've received that. The good news is that in the current year, we had about an 8% shortfall. That was significant, but we did structurally fix it. So in other words, we used ongoing resources to solve ongoing shortfalls. So we anticipate for the next fiscal year that the shortfall will be about 1% of general fund, approximately 47 to 50 million. So that will provide somewhat a reprieve and obviously offer us the opportunity to look at some of these unique circumstances, including in the planning department. On the larger conversation, OSH is dealing with the extreme symptoms of a larger problem, but also structurally insofar as they are supporting developments of new affordable housing. And what I would offer is, in our planning development department, particularly in response to quite a number of state laws that have been passed, we are, and this through the work with the Housing Element Update, trying to figure out how we can plan for more units of housing through the entire income range. And we're very proud, frankly, from the work at Stanford, that unlike other jurisdictions, when we said you need to meet these affordability requirements, we specified them. So in other words, while other jurisdictions are going to get proposals that focus on moderate income, we're going to see proposals that require housing for very low and low income. And that really stemmed from the work we did with Stanford and recognizing that we need to stipulate it. You'll see on Tuesday, because as you know, and I think Director Freitas spoke a little bit about this with congestion management, is that we're predominantly, apart from these major corridors, single-family residential. And so what you'll see in terms of our ability to densify is that there's this approach to rely on ADUs to densify. And so what you're going to see on Tuesday is that the department has done work to create pre-approved ADU plans. So you'll see that Tuesday. And that, we hope, will accelerate the ability for homeowners and other folks to be able to use that as a way to densify. And so we're really trying to get at the root cause, which is supply and demand. And so I'm going to be a little bit more optimistic that taking the totality of strategies, that in the near to mid future, that we're going to make significant headway.
Madam Chair, just one last
Yes, please.
comment to, while I appreciate the optimism, I guess I have a confession to make here. It's the day for this, and thank you again. You know, when I came back on the board in 2013, I think we were just wrapping up our 10-year plan to end homelessness. And I remember thinking, really? And then I think it was shortly thereafter, we had a 5-year plan to end homelessness, and I really thought, really? And I decided to keep my observations to myself, lest I be viewed as less than supportive. But I do think, you know, you can't tackle the problem, and you certainly can't tackle the problem successfully unless you're kind of, you know, honest with yourself about, we can't, unless we're honest with ourselves about the immensity of the challenge. And as I said, a lot of it comes from sources that are well beyond our control at the county level. But, you know, I think it would be unduly optimistic, and you certainly didn't say this, Ms. Gagos, but, you know, to think, quote, success is just around the corner. It's not. This is going to be a challenge for our county for a very long time. And yes, we can do all the good work we want to do on ADUs, but as long as the jobs housing imbalance continues to put more pressure on our county, you know, in the 1990s, Madam Chair, now I'm really going back, our county created 6 times as many jobs as it created housing units. And then we were surprised that there was a housing crisis, you know. And as, you know, former County Executive Jeff Smith would remind us if he was sitting here, you know, these decisions get made mostly by the 15 cities and towns where 95% of the county's population lives. So again, you know, and as Supervisor Chavez reminded us at our most recent board meeting, you know, when we took on this responsibility to try and address the problem that was countywide in scope, all of a sudden everybody said, well, that's your responsibility. And you know, rather than saying, thank you for the help, how can we partner? So we got to get back to thank you for the help and how can we partner, rather than, well, you know, good that the county stepped up, but now you own it, which is, you know, not really a very productive way to go forward. So thank you.
Yeah, you know, now that we're going down memory lane, when I first started as a council member for the city of San Jose, of course, I've always had children and families as part of my priorities, and it was something very different in terms of concept for the city of San Jose to consider children and families, especially within the housing department. And I even had somebody who said to me when I asked, hey, are we including children and families in our point in time count that, you know, we're doing with the county? And they said, to what end? You know, and so it really just, one, I think it's just really difficult to serve families. It's much easier to serve individuals, and so I think you work from what you know and what works. But we're ignoring what families have to go through. And to your point about single women who may have children, who come from intimate partner violence situations, those women are hiding in the shadows to make sure that their children are not at risk and they're not removed. And so they accept the kinds of housing accommodations and conditions that we normally wouldn't see fit for our children. So living in a hallway, I mean, I've done surveys myself as and this is, I was in my 20s, so I'm 50 now. And I remember doing surveys around Mayfair Community Center, and there was people who were living in hallways, who personally told me they were living in their hallway, in a person's living room. So, and this overcrowding is just another symptom of this cost of living that is outrunning everybody. And, you know, I was just sharing this with my son the other day. My parents were working class parents. My mom worked in the cannery for some seasons, but normally would be at home. And that kind of stability, and my parents eventually, when I was, I think, around 10, purchased their home in the east side for $90,000, something that it is not possible for our working class families to have now. That gave me the type of stability to be able to focus. And that kind of stability for our generations is really important so that they can have the kind of opportunities that we really are hoping that they'll take advantage of. We were just in a committee meeting with a joint meeting with the Neighborhood Services and Education Committee over at the City of San Jose and ours CSFC committee, and the folks from the Blue Zones said they're, and this observation I thought was very inaccurate, but they said the youth in our community are, hopeless, are feeling hopelessness, and to the point where they are, they want to die. And I thought, first of all, let's take a step back and really assess what is happening with our youth. I think that was a misrepresentation in terms of an assessment. I'm not sure what part of the population they took this account into consideration, but I would say that our youth are want to live for opportunities, and so do our families. And our families are coming from different parts of the outskirts of this county in order to come back and have a job that provides them with the type of housing in a different city, right? So they're moving and adjusting. The only I think what we haven't addressed, and this is something that I know this goes beyond just this particular report that we're talking about, shelters, and I'm actually really glad you mentioned that, because I think it was something really terrible to say to folks, is like, we need more shelters. And for a time, it was like the worst thing you could say, because we wanted permanent housing, but it was overlooking the steps in between. What do we do in between when somebody's living in the streets? Anyways, I think what we're overlooking, and I want us to continue to explore this, is corporate responsibility, because that's part of what nobody recognizes. We're one of the richest counties and cities, and yet nobody talks about how the wages aren't keeping up with the cost of living, and where is the responsibility for those corporations to do their part, and not have the government subsidize the Walmarts of the world in our community. And so anyways, I know it goes beyond just expanded temporary housing opportunities, but I think we need to start creating a different kind of narrative around why we have this housing crisis. It goes beyond, the jobs to housing ratio. In your neck of the woods, you have a higher jobs to housing ratio, but that's not the problem for the city of San Jose, which is the largest city. It's actually the opposite of that. And so anyways, I think I'd love for us to move in a different direction when we talk about the housing crisis and how we're going to address this. And I'm glad that we're incorporating now temporary housing and using it as part of a solution, and trying to figure out how, even if it is just a Band-Aid while we figure out longer terms what we're going to do, eventually our families are going to leave us, which takes away from the vibrancy and the diversity of our folks here. I'm going to get to my questions. So my question is, when we have shelters that have some challenges in terms of for families, I'm going to be specific about that. What is it that we're doing in order to accommodate? Because the private operators of the congregate shelters still closed during the daytime, and that's difficult for families, especially for those who have little ones, right? Is there anything that we're doing in order to be more responsive?
Thank you for the question, Chairperson Arenas. We have moved to a model in recent years where the county funded shelters are open 24/7 with the exception of the cold weather shelter and some limitations with the actual site and our ability to use that site for specific hours. But even then, the cold weather shelter program at Ochoa is 24/7. So the challenge, of course, in doing that was we did have to leverage additional funding for our providers to stay open more hours. But for example, all of our family sites at hotels, our Casitas program are 24/7, and we don't plan to change that, and we'll continue when we fund future family shelters that they would have round-the-clock services.
I appreciate that. And now that you touched the Arturo Ochoa site, there's 100 units there, yet we go up to only 35. Why is that?
Thank you for the question. I don't know off the top of my head the limitations of the site there. It is a state property, but I can look into that more and get back to you on.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to stay on that point, because as I look at how many and I'm sorry to have this comparison, but as part of this report for the North County, either shelter beds for single adults is 172, for families with children it's 208, and when I take a look at South County, we have 35 families. Over at the Arturo Ochoa, we have 8 for safe parking. And at the Gilroy shelter, it's all populations, not necessarily family. That's 100. And so there's a stark difference there. And I'm wondering, are we taking the families that are living in the South County, are we referring them up to the North County? How is that working? Because, some of the networks that they've built leads to partly the success that they can have living on their own, right? I mean, we rely on some people that we trust to provide childcare. We exchange, those kinds of services between friends. And so how is it that we're taking into account? Are we bringing folks from South County to the North County? How's South County getting served, I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah, thank you for the question. So we do, with shelter referrals, it is largely client family and individual driven in terms of if they have connections in that area and prefer to stay in that area, that's taken into account into the referral process, North County, South County, or Central. However, if there are resources available in another area and there isn't another person in front of them, they would be offered that opportunity. We recognize the gap in South County for shelter. The Gilroy Armory does serve some families, but it's limited, and it's typically not the preferred place for families to go. And so it is one of the things that we want to work on with our outreach that we will be doing around the community plan to end homelessness, is talking with the cities and the organizations in South County about what the opportunities might be there to expand our shelter, our temporary housing, and other resources, permanent housing, as well as prevention in South County as well. Yeah.
I appreciate that. And, to my colleague's point about folks who are impacted by intimate partner violence, we have, one of the highest representations in South County, even among our youth, something that is not present in any other part of our county is present in Gilroy specifically, that there's more incidents with our youth relating to intimate partner violence. And so it just really points to the generational cycle that is happening there in terms of violence and poverty, and you know those connections. And so I really want us to figure out in terms of upstreaming for South County in a way that we haven't before, and appreciating, and this part of the information that I'm sharing is part of the cost of gun violence as well. I mean, all of this, all of the information that we have about what we're learning about South County. I mean, you know, we have the highest referral rates into our juvenile justice system. There's just so much that is happening in South County, yet the safety nets for South County aren't really there. And so I don't know what the capacity is at the locations that we have right now, although, you know, very limited capacity. So I'm not even really that hopeful, but at least I'd like to know that they're being used, and that when there's an exit strategy for people who are in intimate partner violence situations, that there's some place for them to go to. So I'd like to see if maybe there could be an off-agenda report on the current permanent and temporary housing programs that are available in South County. I'm hoping that it's not just what we have here on this report, either for individuals or families that include both shelters and permanent and temporary housing capacity. So hoping I can make that as part of the motion and also accept the report.
So move along with the request for an off-agenda report on the topics that I identified as well, Madam Chair.
Perfect. Okay, well, listen, those are my questions. I do think that we're moving just in the, you're moving with the needs of our community, and I really appreciate that. And having us actually talking about shelters is, for me, a huge leap forward in terms of figuring out that step in between. So I appreciate all of what you're doing, recognizing the needs of our families, and in that off-agenda report, I also like for us to talk about what is the reporting mechanism, what is our responsibility as mandated reporters when we know and we have a family coming in, like the family that was mentioned previously in a public meeting, a dad living with a kiddo in a tent. I want to be careful about how we support the family versus reporting the family, but I also want to make sure that the safety and the well-being of those children are there, and that's our responsibility just as well. So I'd like for that to be included in that off-agenda report. How do we distinguish our mandated reporting responsibilities and serving our homeless families? All right. Well, thank you so much. We are going to look for Peggy for a roll call.
Vice Chairperson Simitian.
Aye.
Chairperson Arenas.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. So we're going to move into item number 8, which is consider recommendations from the Office of Supported Housing relating to supportive housing system of care reports. Welcome.
And while the team is getting settled here, given the hour and the fact that we presented a couple weeks ago on the whole supportive housing system dashboard, we were going to focus on the reentry portion for today's presentation and discussion, if that is amenable to the chair.
Absolutely. Thank you.
With that, I'll introduce Hillary Armstrong, Deputy Director for the Office of Supportive Housing, Laura Utuega Fuentes, our Continuum of Care Manager, and Leila Qureshi, who you will be meeting for the first time here, but would want to mention that these reports that we have been doing over the last, since I began 7 years, Leila has been putting the data together that entire time. So while she's first time here with us, the reports that you have been receiving have been the result of her hard work. And with that, I'll pass it to Laura.
Thank you so much. Like KJ mentioned, we won't be focusing too much on our typical dashboard report because we just presented it 2 weeks ago. Not much has changed. So we can skip to slide, 5. So we'll be focusing on our Reentry Resource Center and other programs focusing on our reentry population, those with criminal justice involvement. If you want to go to the next slide, thank you. So for housing status of people served at the Reentry Resource Center, this you can see that at assessment, how people are experiencing homelessness or housing. So in equal percentages are those that are permanently housed and also literally homeless. If we look at literally homeless and transitional situations, so those that are unstably housed, that does constitute 53% of the people served at the center. There are 2 reentry specific housing programs. One is rapid rehousing, and that provides short-term rental assistance with supportive services. And you can see that for permanent exit destinations for this program, it's at 61%. This is lower than our system-wide rapid rehousing number, which I believe we are at 72%. And this has historically been the case. It just shows how many barriers are faced by those residents in our community that are involved with the criminal justice system. So that is reflective of those barriers. For our PSH, jail diversion program, we have 56 participants being served, and we're at a retention rate of 100%, which is a little higher than our system-wide retention rate of 96%, which is great. Those are the households that are housed for 12 consecutive months as well as over 12 months. Our emergency assistance program helps people that need one-time assistance, and this is a breakdown of the types of assistance. In total, we served 516 unique clients. Of those clients, 78% or 407 did need emergency motel vouchers, showing that that is, you can see that that's a large, almost 50% of the total assistance provided, and how many of our participants truly need that. The other three larger wedges are related to rental assistance, security deposit, and back rent and late fees, so still housing related. In terms of demographics, just a reminder that for race and ethnicity, we do have multiple responses that are allowed. The 3 highest groups in this population are 55% Hispanic Latina, Latino, Latine, 24% white, non-Hispanic, Latino, Latine, Latina, and then 14% Black or African American. In terms of the age ranges, we have 63% that are between the ages of 25 and 44 years old. And with that, I'm opening to questions.
Thank you so much. I'm going to look to Peggy for public comment.
We have no speakers in chambers, and we have 1 hand raised in the Zoom room. Catherine Hedges, please accept the unmute to begin speaking. You will have 2 minutes to speak.
Hi, I just tuned in. This is Catherine Hedges. I'm a member of Surge, but not officially speaking for the Moness. I just tuned in, so I'm not sure if this is the right time in the meeting to make a comment, but I'm very, very concerned that there's now a report about the Sunnyvale shelter in today's meeting, because this meeting was when Office of Supportive Housing was supposed to come back to council, Board of Supervisors, with a report on what's going on at the Sunnyvale shelter with the switch over to Bill Wilson Center. And I've been hearing about how badly that transition is going, and it looks like they're planning to start construction, and switch over to families before the winter shelter opens or something. How is that even going to work? I mean, we only have 6 weeks or so before winter shelter season starts. And-
Catherine, I'm so sorry to interrupt. This item is the supportive housing system related to the reentry programs. And the item that we just finished, which is item number 6, was more appropriate, which for.
Okay, well, I wasn't online then.
Yeah, that was expanding the temporary housing opportunities.
Okay, well, I would like the record to state that even if this isn't the correct item to speak on, I object to them not reporting properly. And, you know, we're gonna have people dying cold. Thank you.
And that concludes our speakers.
Wonderful. Okay, so my colleague?
Madam Chair, would this be the appropriate time to say, move approval of the recommended action, which is to receive the monthly reports identified in item number 7, A, B, and C?
That would be a perfect time, and I'm
So
gonna
moved.
second that. I'm going to ask a question, and then you can follow up offline. 64% of the 566 individuals who completed the via SPDAT were assessed for permanent supportive housing. Basically, what I just want to know is how many of those folks actually got placed, and what were their barriers? Obviously, they're not going to be very different than everybody else's, but the reentry folks have maybe slightly different barriers and challenges, and so I want to know if those actually contribute to securing permanent housing and maintaining it. If you can answer now, that would be great, but if not, we can follow up.
Thank you. Can you repeat the statistics that you were quoting?
Yeah, it was 64% of the 566 individuals who completed the VSPDAT assessment at the reentry center. They were assessed for needing permanent supportive housing. And so out of those, how many actually were placed, and what were those challenges, and how do we, and obviously, how do we address those challenges as part of what we'll talk about on the dais.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we're going to have to look into that number a little bit more deeply so that we can
Sure.
parse out the data in a way that makes more sense for your question. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
no, I really appreciate it. I know that there's a lot of really good work happening simultaneously, so I appreciate your work, and I apologize that we've taken so much time in other items, but we have seen a portion of this report previously, and I appreciate the work that you do, especially for those folks who are trying really hard to re-enter into our society. And I know in South County that is an absolute necessity. And so, the same message as the item before is that there's just not enough housing in South County in the way that facilitates transition for whether it's reentry or folks who are on the street who need to move from temporary to permanent. It's limited, and so I look forward to that off-agenda report in the previous item, but this is kind of related, right? It's all really related. So I appreciate your time and your work. Thank you so much for the report, and we have a motion on the floor.
Vice Chairperson Semidian. Aye. Chairperson Arenas.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Wonderful. So we have, as a very last item number 8 is to receive verbal reports from the directors of all of the directors. And so because we're at 12:11, if you could please keep your comments succinct, we'd really appreciate that.
I'll be very succinct. Thank you. Jacqueline Anciano, Director of Planning and Development. Just want to say that this was really big for us, and so we are now at a 10.4% vacancy rate. We have 2 more staff that are joining us. One key position, our Code Enforcement Program Manager, will join our team beginning October 15th, and we are very excited to have, the gentleman's name is Daryl Revere, join our team. We're excited to have him join us. As far as applications or work that's taking place within our department, we are working diligently with the Deputy County Executive on our transformation modernization. You've heard about that relative to our permitting process. We have reduced our applications from 27 down to 3. We had 27 applications. We've checklist applications. We've reduced those down to 3. We're excited about that. And we are working to secure our housing element. We've resubmitted that. We're working on the resubmittal information for the 4th resubmittal to HCD. We submitted our 3rd submittal to HCD. That was on June 28th. We received their comments back, and we're working through those comments. And this concludes my presentation. Unless you have questions of me, thank you.
Through the chair, real quick.
Please.
Is there an estimated date for or timeline for the latest resubmittal?
Not at this time. We're working with our county council just to address some issues within their comments.
Thank you. Madam Chair, I should just indicate, I think this issue of builder's remedy is, has already come to a head, and we need to do some work to address the hard fact of where we are or aren't. And one of the things I just want to preview is that I will probably be asking the county council, either just informally or through a formal referral, to draft some kind of a memo, including a public version, one that's not wholly confidential, on builder's remedy and where we kind of are, not just in the county, but in the 15 cities and towns, and particularly for the 14 cities and towns that aren't close to 1 million. I think they're going to, frankly, need some help. If we expect every individual smaller city to figure out what the state of play is, legal remedies, options. I'm hearing from members of the community who I think feel that there's absolutely nothing that they or their cities can do, and I think there are things that people can do. So to be continued. I know we're pressed for time. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we're going to go to Director of Roads and Airport.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'll reserve my comments for a later date.
Wonderful. Thank you. And we are going to move on to Director of Parks and Rec.
Good afternoon, Don Rocha, Director for Parks and Recreation. I'll just highlight a couple events that are coming up. The Fall Festival for Marshall Cottle is coming up on Saturday, October 5th. Day on the Bay is October 13th. And La Fuente Family Day at Burnell Ranch is coming up September 21st this weekend. And that's the end of my report.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Moving on to Director of Office of Supportive Housing. Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Of
Just get me.
Environmental Protection Agency. I apologize. They have you here out of order in terms of your seating, so I apologize, Director Nolasco.
No worries. Good morning. I'll keep it super brief. We are about to print our 2023 Ag Crop Plan, and we'll be sending it out to the board. I'm happy to report that we had a 3.5% increase. That gives us a total crop value of $371 million. Recently, SEPA hired a communications officer, so we're very excited about that. One of her tasks will be to expand the donation fund at the Animal Services Shelter to continue doing the amazing services we provide to the unincorporated county. And also, our Weights and Measures and Ag Division, in partnership with the California Department of Pesticide Regulation, will be hosting the Breaking Barriers training. It is a training to help team members how to relate and work with our Hispanic and Latino ag workers. Also, we provide translation services to Spanish-speaking only ag workers to help them and teach them how to read pesticide labels.
That's amazing. I'd love to hear more about that offline. Director Kaminsky.
Thank you. I will also keep it brief here. The Heartwood Apartments grand opening is October 30th, and happy to share that we expect for that development to be fully leased up in the next few weeks. This is the formerly known as the Crestview, which is 49 units for families, youth, and individuals who are experiencing homelessness or at risk. In addition to Heartwood and Royal Oak that we talked about earlier, in the next few weeks, we expect to fully lease up the Sunrise Pavilion, which is a serving transition-age youth. And over the next few months, the next 3 months, Roosevelt Apartments, Bellarmino Place, and La Avenida Apartments will all be leased up. So our team is working hard to through those referrals and getting folks moved into those permanent units. Because it was related to much of the discussion today in terms of city partnerships, just wanted to mention that our team shared city data dashboards with each of the cities and their staff about similar to what you see here, inflow into homelessness, placements into permanent housing, and where people are being served across the system. We did that for each individual city across the county and shared that with city staff, and expect to be building on that as we work through the community plan updates. And then lastly, on the event fronts, just wanted to note that our partners at Destination Home are hosting the National Lived Experience Conference in November. And we will also be sharing soon some planning for the next point in time count. We will be conducting our point in time count in January of 2025. So the planning is underway, and we'll be working with everybody in the community. As you know, that's a big effort that requires a lot of volunteers, and we'll share information with your offices as those meetings are set. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of the information. This meeting is adjourned.
What? Just a quick note to the chair, we have no speakers on
Public
item.
comment
Yeah.
for this one. I always forget. Yes.
We don't
Peggy.
have any, so
We
you're
don't
good.
have any. So here, I'm going to gavel now. Gavel us out. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you. This is an interesting one.